To another special piece tonight. Education stakeholders are saying it is too late to discard the competency-based curriculum since there are learners who have studied under the new curriculum for 6 years. The sentiments coming at a time when President William Ruto promised Kenyans that his government will set up a task force to look into the challenges experienced with that curriculum. And as many are confused as to which direction the CBC will take, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has assured Kenyans that the curriculum will not be scrapped off. Here is our senior education reporter, Sharon Baranga, with the story.
It has been 6 years since the implementation of the competency-based curriculum CBC began in the country, but many parents are yet to grasp what the CBC is all about. For instance, parents of learners at Kari Primary School in Kisii County are concerned with the direction the new curriculum is taking. Most of them confessing that they do not understand the most important aspects of the curriculum, even though their children are at a stage where they are preparing to join junior secondary school in 2023.
Tuko na changamoto kwa sababu saa zingine sisi kama wazazi huwa tunachanganyikiwa kwa sababu hatujaelewa kuhusu hii CBC sasa.
Kwa CBC vile mwenzangu alisema ni kama inachanganya kidogo. Hatujaielewa vizuri.
Tayari tuko na PP1 na PP2 ambayo haikukuweko. Je, tutaendelea na hiyo? Pili ni wale wanafunzi ambao wanatoka katika primary kuenda junior secondary wa kidato cha 6. Je, wametoshea umri wa kuenda sekondari na wanaweza kuenda mashule za mbali? Na je, tutaendelea kukua na hizi shule ambazo za nationals ama tutarudi kukua na shule za day schools, tutoe shule za mabweni? Kwa hivyo mimi nataka kuambia Wakenya wote wajitayarishe kutoa maoni kuhusu hiyo CBC. Lakini njia ni mbili tu ama tatu. Either tuibakishe vile ilivyo saa hizi, ama tuiondoe kabisa, ama tuipige msasa ili iweze kuingizwa ndani ya 844.
Since its inception, implementation of the CBC has suffered teething issues, with some education stakeholders dismissing the curriculum, saying it was rushed. Parents weighed in on the matter, claiming the curriculum was too complex and expensive. Some even called for the removal of the curriculum, but the government remained adamant that CBC was here to stay.
This is actually the way to go, so that when a child leaves school in after Form 4, you don't have to be saying, oh, I passed to go to university. Which university? You go and create a company and employ the beggars who went to university and employ hundreds of them. Because you will be talented, you'll be a film director, you'll be a music director, and you can be employing the Magoha's grandchildren at about 1% of your income or even less. That's the life that our children must now consider, rather than saying, let me pass well so that I go to the university, so that I get a certificate, so that I stay for 20 years, so that I can get a job. I think that's a bit stupid, don't you think so?
What does it mean to operationalize CBC? Because the intention of CBC is good, but what does it really take for us to achieve CBC? So it's not just enough to say that we really want to implement CBC, but do we have the intention to put in what it takes for us to achieve CBC?
To tweak and do certain things, that's not now my business. Are we together? For example, if they were to say that, okay, let CBC be only in day schools, or as long as CBC is there, because my main concern has been that leave CBC alone, because in my considered opinion, it has brought the children back to their parents. There is a conversation between the parents and the children.
Last year, former President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed Professor Fatuma Chege to head the new state department in the Ministry of Education that would oversee the implementation of the CBC. The task force was set up to look into the issues affecting the delivery of the CBC.
Which, of course, the bigger report has never been put public, and that also raises a lot of concerns. The task force took too long, close to 2 years, before its report was out. And again, when the report was out, it was full of recommendations, so many of them, and you wouldn't really tell where to start or not. So some of us have argued that perhaps the task force failed to provide a very, very solid framework of how to move on. Because if you just provide many recommendations, I think there are more than 100 recommendations. You don't know whether to implement recommendation number 68 or that configuration of recommendation number 46, 78, and maybe 105. It becomes a big issue.
Is a practical curriculum, na tunahitaji hiyo practicability katika generation ile tunaishi, lakini pia tunahitaji kuangalia implementation yake, na kitu ya kwanza ni kuangalia kuweka resources zile zitafanya CBC ikuwe inafanyika bila wasiwasi, kwa sababu CBC saa hizi vile iko inagawanya wa maskini na watu wale wadosi, simply because shule za kawaida haziwezi pata mahali ya kucheza basketball, haziwezi pata mahali penye wako napata hizi resources zile zinahitajika kwa applicability ya hiyo CBC curriculum. Lakini tunahitaji serikali ikae chini iweke resources kwa shule ili kusikue na shida ya implementation ya CBC.
BAMBA anakuwa amri jeshi mkuu wa majeshi yote ya ulinzi ya Kenya.
In his speech immediately after being sworn in as president, William Ruto promised Kenyans that his government will set up a task force to look into the challenges experienced with the curriculum. His deputy Rigathi Gachagua has assured Kenyans that the curriculum will not be scrapped off.
Our new government will very soon be unveiling a task force to look at educational reforms, including CBC, with a view not of abolishing it, but reviewing it so that we retain what is good and improve what is causing concern. So we ask the people of Kenya, when that team is unveiled and is going around the country, please don't just complain at home and in market centers. Turn up and present your views of what you think should be done to improve CBC and the entire educational center.
Public participation is critical in this matter. I will establish an education reform task force in the presidency, which will be launched in the coming weeks. It will collect views from all players in line with the constitutional demand of public participation, and we are particularly alive to the anxieties of parents on the twin transition of the last 844 class and the first CBC class in January next year. I assure all that there will be a solution to the matter before then.
To come, we share. We have all
The Kenya Publishers Association, KPA, has asked President William Ruto to move with speed and appoint a task force that will review the competency-based curriculum and give recommendation on the curriculum. The association wants to be part of the task force appointed by President Ruto if the need arises.
We as Kenya Publishers Association had already prepared a memorandum, and what we are doing today is to continue gathering more views so that we can strengthen it. The moment that task force is appointed, we shall present that memorandum. And we also look forward to actually being part of that task force, because we are key stakeholders in the area of curriculum, rollout, implementation. We have done books right from PP1 through to grade 7.
The publishers say there is need for President Ruto to retain CBC, saying education system needs regular changes after every 5 to 10 years.
I want to mention just 3 areas that we feel should be looked into. One is training, intensive, let me call it, intensive training of teachers on CBC. Training was done. But from the views that we have gathered from the teachers that we work with, especially those who have written books, it could have been better. We believe that from what we have gathered, it was done through what we may call a crash program. So if it is more intensive, teachers will have the opportunity to understand, appreciate CBC, and therefore, even at class level, they will deliver better. Another area, and I mentioned it, is the sensitization of the general public, and especially the parents. The parents have been demonizing CBC, especially on social media, and we do not blame them. We say we are also parents, and we know the work that sometimes our learners bring home. But the sensitization should be in the sense that let us appreciate that learning does not start and end in the classroom.
Kwa hivyo sisi kama KUPPET tumeuliza kwamba tuweze kupewa slot katika hiyo task force ili tuweze kutoa maoni yetu kama walimu. Lakini naweza kusema hivi, sio tu maoni ya walimu, lakini tunataka maoni ya Wakenya wote na washikadau wote. Wawe ni wazazi, wawe ni walimu, wawe ni wale watu ambao wako katika idara mbalimbali, lakini tusahau pia maoni ya wanafunzi wenyewe. Sababu hakuna elimu ama curriculum yote ya elimu ambayo inaweza faulu kama haitakubalika na serikali, haitakubalika na wanafunzi, haitakubalika na wazazi, haitakubalika na walimu, na pia haitakubalika na wananchi kwa jumla. Kwa hivyo hii task force itawezesha sisi kuweka maoni yetu pamoja ili kuweza kujua tutaenda mbele namna gani.
On the other hand, universities have been challenged to employ their expertise in research to help improve education systems that include the competency-based curriculum.
Perhaps it is high time that when the task force will be going round, University of Embu should not be left behind to give its views, the views from philosophical point of view, because when you are conceiving an education system, the philosophy under which you conceive it is very important.
There are a few things that need to be really structured, and one of it has to be, how do we really look at what we want to implement in terms of the curriculum reforms? I think the debate on the education that we want must still be active. It must never stop. We must sit in town halls. It's a normative discussion. We cannot make it a positivist that it has to work this way or the other way. We must continue engaging at all times, continue engaging universities and faculties of education, different teacher training institutions to really get involved in terms of really understanding what is it that we are putting on the table in terms of curriculum reform.
Meanwhile, education stakeholders are saying it is too late to scrape off the new curriculum since there are learners who have studied under it for 6 years. They instead advise the government to look at the issues affecting the curriculum and focus on finding solutions.
The teacher-pupil ratio, because the CBC is an approach which requires almost some individual attention. We are trying our level best, but if we could improve that ratio, then at least we'll be good to go.
Masuala ambayo yanaweza kuangaliwa ni jinsi ya kuweza kufanya ile assessment, how they are assessing the learners, because the mode of assessment probably could be not favoring some of the learners.
Tunatarajia wanafunzi wa shule za msingi kujiunga nasi, lakini changamoto tulio nayo ni kwamba hatujapewa vifaa maalum vya kuweza kupokea watoto.
Mfumo huu ulianzishwa na umeenda mpaka grade ya 6 na hauwezi kutupiliwa tu mbali hivyo, kwa sababu watoto hawa waliosoma watapelekwa wapi na hawana chochote pengine, na yale masomo yametolewa, vitabu ilitolewa. Kwa hivyo ni mbinu tu mwafaka inatakana kutafutwa.
As members of parliament, we are going to put our foot down and make sure that we are going to look into this issue of CBC and make some amendments, and if need be, we scrap it all together and revert back to the 844 system.
In 2023, the pioneer class of the CBC will be joining junior secondary schools. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.